structure. They say tie their hands and their leg. They say their prayer on action. They move that thing from under their feet. Naturally, gravity just pulls them down. Whilst they're enjoying the ride, this one pulls them up, and their neck snaps. If it doesn't snap immediately, they hang in there. Till they choke out, suffocate. So that's the gallows system. But now, where this one happens, it was outside, but we go there now, and it's been transformed to something else.
17 years. So these are the chain that they use to.
Yeah. So this one for the hard labor,
Yes.
This one's like some of the punishments. So the really stubborn ones can wear something like this on
It
their
means
ankle.
that they were really treated like a slave then.
Yeah, but
not like.
Long before this became one of Lagos' most vibrant cultural and recreational spaces, it was a place many hoped they would never see. Welcome to Freedom Park, Lagos. Before the music, festivals, and the beautiful gardens you see today, this land had a different story. In 1872, the British Colonial Administration established Her Majesty Broad Street here in Lagos, the first modern prison in Nigeria. It became the foundation of Nigeria's former prison system, serving as an important part of the colonial justice and administrative structure at the time when British rule was expanding across the region. Behind these walls, countless lives were changed. Some were convicted offenders, others were political detainees, labor activists, and Nigerians whose voice challenged colonial authority. We are going beyond the beautiful atmosphere to uncover the hidden stories buried within these historical walls. Join me as we uncover the hidden stories behind Nigerian forced prison and discover how this remarkable place became one of Lagos' most important historical landmarks.
Basically, my name is Chaos, and this place hasn't always been known as Freedom Park. It used to be the first colonial prison in Nigeria. When I say colonial prison, that means it was actually when during the colonial masters' reign, before independence. This was established. The prison, was established in 1872. 1872. Yeah, if I wasn't there. 1872 to be precise, and it ran over 100 years. So it was a proper prison. Of course, we Africans, we had our own justice system before the colonial masters came.
The prison continued to operate for nearly a century before closing in 1979. Left abandoned, the site gradually became overgrown and was eventually used as a dumping ground. Then, in 1999, plan began to preserve rather than erase the important chapter of Nigerian story. The result of the plan was Freedom Park, officially opened in 2010 to commemorate Nigerian 50th independent anniversary, a place where history, culture, and community now come to.
It was actually used because from that when it was totally over, 1872 to 1972, 75-ish, that it was actually left to rot. We commissioned this place in 2010. Freedom Park started 2010. But between that 2010 and 1973, it was just left to rot. It was a hangout, it was a refuse dump, it was not kept.
No activities were actually
no activity. There was no, like then, lots of stuff happened. They wanted to transform the place to something useful. The idea of the park came, and here we are, today.
For thousands of people who passed through Her Majesty Broad Street Prison, this gate was the only gate that separated two worlds where life changed forever. Standing here today, it is hard to imagine the fear that once surrounded this entrance. But more than a century ago, this was the point of no return for every newly convicted prisoners brought here. The prison vehicle stopped outside these walls. One after another, prisoners stepped down, knowing that once these iron gates closed behind them, the world they knew will be left on the other side. The cells has been rebuilt and much more of the original prison no longer exists. But this entrance and the surrounding colonial bricks wall remain among the few surviving witnesses to a story that shaped Nigeria's earliest prison system. If these gates could speak, they wouldn't tell the story of a prisoner. They would tell the story of generations.
And then people just walked, in through this place.
And this is still the original door.
It's still that's the original door that came with the. See, if you look at the door, it's well fitted. With the door and everything.
No means of escape. Like
not at all.
So this should be the original ground.
That's the original ground. Of course, as I said, there was a building inside here. So when they enter, they're entering the office where they get registered before they get arranged to the other their individual cells. And if it's a female, they take them to the female cell. They give them their own.
This looked like nothing more than a small opening in an old brick wall, but for many prisoners, it was the closest they could come to home. Visitors were not allowed into the prison compound. Instead, they stood outside these iron bars, hoping for just a few precious minutes with a husband, a son, a brother, or a friend on the other side. No embrace, no handshakes, no chance to sit together, only words that had to carry enough love to the last until the next visit.
Yes, and they go to the windows and they meet them. Say, show, Zenroti Mileni, okay, give me work in the car. One on one, Matumile, Lola.
When their family comes to see the prisoners.
Yes, when they come to see them, they call them whoever they want to see, and they call the prisoners into the building. They call them into the building, and then they can actually talk to their family or their friends who came to see them. You understand? So remember, there was a building that attached to this whole. When we get into the museum, I can actually show you that.
I will need to ask: is this the whiteness of the entrance?
Yeah, that's the main.
Actually, then they will need to bring in either trucks, cars.
The trucks they parked outside. Car, there was no need for it was a place. There was no need for cars to come inside. So they parked the cars outside, and then people just walked, in through this.
To the goats of Nigeria, some people call them Nigeria's three wise men, not because they always agreed, but because each left a mark that history could never erase. Standing before us are Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and Sir Ahmadu Bello, three leaders from three different regions, each carrying the hopes and aspirations of millions of Nigerians during one of the most defining periods in our history. Their debates were intense, their visions sometimes different, but their contributions helped lay the foundation for an independent Nigeria. Together, they came to symbolize the country's three major regions. Awolowo gave voice to the West, Azikiwe inspired the East, and Ahmadu Bello became the political pillar of the North. Their influence helped shape the conversations that eventually led Nigeria to independence in 1916. They proved that the future of a nation is shaped not by one voice alone, but by many with a direct vision. One of them, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, would later experience the harsh reality of imprisonment after being convicted here during Nigerian First Republic, a chapter of history that remains one of the country's most debated political trials. Their status stands together not because they thought alike, but because each played a key role in the making of modern Nigeria. Freedom Park is surrounded by the echoes of colonial history. These monuments remind us of something profound. Nations are not built by wars that divide people, but by leaders willing to imagine a future beyond those wars.
The three wise men.
Yeah, the three wise men, that's what we call them, but they're the founding fathers of Nigeria's independence, namely Obafemi Awolowo, who was a Yoruba man, Ahmadu Bello, who was, and then Nnamdi Azikiwe, who was the first president of Nigeria. We call them the three wise men, as you can see. So eventually, one of them was imprisoned in here, which is Obafemi Awolowo. He was actually imprisoned in here. But basically, these are the founding fathers of Nigerian independence. These guys are already dead. They've been already hanged and they are just hanging.
I'm trying to compare the situation here with the inmates with the time of slavery.
Okay.
It seems that they are very similar.
Yes.
It's what they actually went through.
True. If you look at some of the ways they were being treated and everything, but then slavery was over. There was slavery, and then slavery was over. Then they started dividing Africa. The colonial masters taking their parts and their shares. But basically this is the real bed from the bed and mattress from the prison time, and this they used.
It was a mattress.
This was the real mattress from that time, from the
Wow.
prison time, and the bed frame with the prisoners slept on. So this is just it's a volunteer. It's just a stuffed guy who's acting as a prisoner. Say hello.
Hi. How long have you been here?
I think it's been here for a couple for like some, let me say, like 15 years now.
Wow.
And they had this one that, you know, but in 1872, I don't know, they didn't have the water closet, so they had something like this bucket, you know. So basically, these are the size, the window shape, and everything of the prison, and the window bars and everything.
Ventilation.
Yeah, for ventilation. So they had cells on this side, cells on that side. So imagine this is the hallway. They have cells here, cells, and they can check on everybody or like bring in new people. So it was just like this. That's exactly how it was.
The prison were never built to hold thousands of people. When Her Majesty Broad Street Prison opened in 1872, it was designed to accommodate just 300 inmates. At the time, colonial officers believed that would be enough for growing settlement of Lagos. But Lagos was changing, the city grew, British rule expanded, more courts were established, more arrests were made, and before long, this work could no longer contain the growing prison population. The prison had to adapt, more space was created, the layout was expanded, and every available corner reflected a system struggling to keep pace with a rapidly expanding colony. Eventually, it became clear that Broad Street Prison could no longer meet the need of a growing Lagos. As the city expanded, newer prisons were built to take on that responsibility. Ikoyi Prison opened in 1955, followed by Kirikiri Prison in 1955. Larger facilities designed for a different era and a more bigger population. In many ways, they became the next chapters in a history that started right here in Broad Street Prison. Her Majesty Broad Street Prison may have been the smallest of them, but it was the one that laid the foundation. It introduced Nigeria to a formal prison system, and from that single institution grew a correctional network that would eventually spread across the country.
They didn't just come and just like start chilling and just resting and waking up and getting to know themselves and talking about the crimes and why they are in here. They actually had to work. And all this one is they used to do like concrete works, construction works, bridge, okay, you know, some to cut. Because me, when I was growing up, I had to see prisoners on the roadside, and like, you know, cutting grass or like government spaces and everything, and just cutting it.
So these are the chain that they used to.
Yeah. So this one for you know the hard labor,
Yes.
This one's like some of the punishments. So the really stubborn ones can wear something like this on their ankle.
It means that they were really treated like a slave then.
Yeah, but you know,
not like
even well, initially, you know, this the cells, the prison was designed because it was the first time they were just trying it out, and it was this kind of cells that it was chains. You know, I don't know what I see in movies. The people sit and they put chains around. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So until in 1885, they really built this massive with the walls and everything, a proper prison with the exactly. So as time went on, they had some, and of course some of the barbed wires for the fence and some other materials. Here's to some of the window bars.
Some other prominent voices were also detained here, men whose ideas challenged the authorities of their time. Among the prominent Nigerian voices associated with the colonial detention were labor leader Michael Imodo, who campaigns for workers' rights repeatedly brought him into conflict with the colonial government. Nationalist Abbas Macaulay, often remembered as the father of Nigerian nationalism, and activist Mukugo Okoye, whose political beliefs also attracted the attention of the colonial authorities. Some were imprisoned, some were detained, and others lived under constant surveillance. Their greatest offense was not always violence or crime. Sometimes it was simply the courage to speak, to organize, and to imagine a Nigerian that could govern itself.
About Macaulay, Paimodu, the first governor of Lagos State, Lateef Jakonde, and Nahoro, and all this gentlemen was actually in prison here. You know, so
what was their offense? Were they trying to agitate?
Most of them were actually speaking here, but speaking on behalf of the people against the reigning governments. But behind you is what Obafemi Awolowo, what was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment with hard labor with treason felony, another 5 years to conspiracy to commit, and another 2 years. So he should have actually spent 17 years
And
here.
he did all the
He
years
did it because he
complete.
got presidential pardon when General Gowon came in power. So he went to live his life
He
as
must actually
yeah,
went through a lot.
yeah. But he got presidential pardon. He didn't complete the sentence that he was.
Not every prisoner who passed through this was a hardened criminal. Some carry stories so heartbroken that decades later, Lagos still remembers their names. One of them was a young woman named Ada Esther Johnson. She fell in love with a British railway worker named Mark Hall. Like many couples, they dreamed of building a future together, trusting the man she loved. Esther handed him £400 and anonymous amount of money in the 1950s to help secure their future. But when Hall returned from England, he brought a devastating news. He had married another woman, an English bride. He admitted that Esther's money had helped him to build a new life. In a moment of rage and heartbreak, Esther picked up a pair of scissors and stabbed him. Hall later died from his injuries. The Colonial Court found her guilty of murder and sentenced her to death. These prison walls became her world as she waited on death row. Years later, after Nigeria gained independence, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe granted Esther a pardon. She walked out of these gates not as a woman who entered then, but as someone given a second chance to live again.
Just a walkway for them. Now this is a lady, because I've been telling you about the men and then all the men and all the men.
Yes.
So she was in her name was Esther Johnson. She was a tailor. She was a businesswoman based in Lagos here. That was her boyfriend at that time. He was working in Nigeria.
Also a British.
Yes, he was a British guy, but they were not married. They were just like lovers and dating and everything. At some point, he had to go on leave to England.
Okay.
So Esther called him. She said that, you know what, I have some money I saved, and here's some money. I want you to buy a taxi for me when you're coming back. Ship it down like the way you guys have been shipping stuff to Africa and everything. So he took the money and went. On getting to England, he met another lady,
Wow.
a Caucasian. Things sped up. He got married and everything. Took a new wife.
Leaving her behind.
Yeah, and leaving her. And then when he was coming to Nigeria, he had to come back to work anyway. So the taxi actually got a taxi for European wife. Say, you know what, you maintain with this. I'm going to Africa to work, and he had to come back to meet Esther. And they had a thing going on. Esther saw her lover. He didn't see the car. He didn't see the money. It was like too much talk, and so they got into a conflict. And Esther being a tailor in her shop, it was scissors that was around her to defend or like to attack with or whatever. So she hit him, and complications from that, the man died. So she was brought in here to be sentenced to death. But I heard people protesting on her behalf, and they went back, back and forth. At the end of the day, they gave her life imprisonment. But then she was there, she took her faith and everything. See the publication in 1961. Then she heard that Nigeria got independent in 1960. The president remembered her, gave her presidential pardon, and she went. She was sentenced. Her name is Esther Johnson. You can find out more.
If someone had told the prisoners who once lived here that one day this ground would echo with music instead of marching boots, they probably wouldn't have believed it. This is the Freedom Park Amphitheater, a stage where artists perform, children laugh, poets speak, and audience gather without fear. This transformation wasn't accidental. When Freedom Park was created, the vision wasn't simply to preserve an old prison, it was to reclaim it. A place that once represented punishment was intentionally designed to celebrate creativity, culture, and freedom. There is something deeply symbolic about this place. The ground where authorities once silenced voices now gave people a microphone. The same space that once divided society now brings people together. That is the greatest victory of Freedom Park. Not that it erased the past, but it chooses to write the future.
So anyway, so if you notice this building behind us with the green hat, that was the Justice House. Sorry. So all the sentencing and everything went on around there. And if you look at some of the buildings are like colonial buildings till now, it's not really been touched. Just
As our journey through Freedom Park came to an end, one thing becomes clear. This is far more than a tourist attraction. It is a place where history has been carefully preserved, not to glorify the past, but to help us learn from it. The sound of prison whistles has been replaced by music. The silence of confinement has given way to conversations, laughter, poetry, and celebrations. What was once a symbol of restriction has become one of Nigeria's most remarkable symbols of renewal. Every tree that shades these walkways, every flower that brightens this landscape, every open space where families now gather remind us that nature has quietly reclaimed a place once defined by concrete walls and iron bars. As the sun begins to set, Freedom Park transforms once again. The light comes alive, music fills the air, restaurants welcome visitors, cultural performance takes the stage, and the park takes on an entirely different character. It is one of the few places in Lagos where history, nature, entertainment, and nightlife exist in a perfect harmony. This remarkable transformation did not happen by chance. It was made possible through the vision of architect Theo Lawson, whose thoughtful design preserved the prison historical identity while creating a vibrant public space where memory and modern life can exist side by side. Freedom Park reminds us that history should never be hidden. It should be protected, understood, and shared with the future generations. Because when we preserve the places that shaped our nation, we also preserve the lessons that have taught us. And that is the greatest message this park leaves with every visitor. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the Nigeria's most remarkable historical landmarks. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, share, subscribe for more stories that reconnect our past with the present, uncover Africans' hidden history, and tell our story the way it deserves to be told. My name is Akanni Ojo. Until our next adventure, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep never stop discovering the story that made us who we are today.